I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Welcome to the Rainbow Push Saturday Morning Community Forum. We're excited every week to bring our broadcast to you, to bring you news and information, to update you on what's happening in the world that you and I need to be concerned about, that we need to be taking action on, and things that we need to be pushing for public policy changes. This week in history, this would have been the anniversary of President Nelson Mandela's birthday. And why is that important? Because like Dr. King, President Mandela issued a wave of reforms in South Africa that have lasted long after his transition from earth to eternity. And so we see the changes in South Africa, like many of the changes in America. The progress is not as fast as we would like, but yet there's so much progress. And remember, he was elected after serving 27 years in prison on a proposition that he believed in equity, freedom, and equality for Black South Africans. To have stayed there 27 years, walk out to freedom, and become the first colored African to become president of South Africa. That is a phenomenal feat, having led the African National Congress challenging the systems of oppression in the government. I know what God can do. This week we've seen a lot of legislative battles dealing with education and the issue of whether or not race and the contributions that African Americans and people of color have made to this country, how they're going to be taught or not taught in schools. What was really interesting, in Missouri, the state legislature had a whole town hall with not one African American parent, citizen present in the hearing on race and racism in the state of Missouri. That's kind of what we're talking about. Not only are we left out of the history books, we even left out of the conversations to discuss whether or not we should be included in the discussion in the real history of America. You've heard a lot about in the news is the impact of COVID-19, the new Delta variant. What does that mean? And whether or not you and I should be vaccinated. What does it mean to be vaccinated, and what does it mean to not be vaccinated? And so we're just going to show you a little video updates on COVID-19 and where we are in America and what it looks like around the world.
The Delta variant is a little different than the original COVID-19 in that it's more transmissible. So that is what is truly concerning. For fully vaccinated individuals, we're seeing that those individuals that break through are not experiencing severe disease, are not being hospitalized. For individuals that are not vaccinated at all, that is of high concern. We're thinking about our own health, but we also have to think about our community, those individuals that are close to us, our family, our friends, our community, our neighbors. Those individuals may have underlying medical conditions that they are aware of, and there are also individuals that may have underlying medical conditions that they are not aware of. The Delta variant is highly transmissible, and when we compare that to the Alpha variant, the one that was first observed in the UK, that tended to be a little bit more virulent. However, the Delta variant, being more transmissible, is making up the largest number of cases in the UK. In the United States, it's making up over 50% of all of our new cases. Why we should be concerned is that in some communities, some states, it's making up over 80%. And in terms of hospitalizations of individuals with severe disease, it can and has been up to about 99% attributed to the Delta variant. These deaths, hospitalizations, at this point with the vaccines, they are preventable. Variants are really smart, and they try to survive, and they evolve. And that's why the vaccination is so important, because we do want to prevent new variants that get smarter. Vaccinations will slow down the propagation of new variants, and that's why it is important. The Delta variant is highly transmissible. What we do not want to see is a variant that is highly virulent, that would cause severe disease, hospitalization, and for some communities, in particular rural and semi-rural, that do not have easy access to clinics, medical hospitals, that have the resources to take on and treat the patients, these are the communities that we really need to worry about.
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. We fight for voting rights, and we turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, yeah, keep on talking, yeah, marching us to freedom.
I know you have watched the candlelight vigils all around America, the John Lewis candlelight, Good Trouble prayer vigils that happened this past weekend. All over America, people were marching, demonstrating, engaging in civil disobedience, congresspersons submitting to arrest, demonstrating outside the Senate to say to our senators, we expect you to make sure that our right to vote is protected and preserved, that we have a federally protected right to vote. And these 40+ state legislatures can no longer change the process and the procedures for voting to deny access to African Americans and people of color. We want to congratulate our attorney. This is my attorney, Attorney Barbara Unwine. She is the phenomenal expert on voting rights. And she's not just a lawyer that talks lawyer talk, she's a lawyer that walks the walk. She was with those women, those congressional representatives and other women who decided to engage in civil disobedience in DC this past week. It was Attorney Barbara Unwine who's been organizing demonstrations all across the country, marches to the polls, challenging legislators and United States congresspersons to push the legislation, push for the two bills that are sitting before the Senate, H.R. 1 and the John Lewis voting rights bill. We need to call every one of our United States senators. We need to tweet them, text them, call them, tie up their phones this week. We want a constitutionally protected right to vote.
Never again will states be able to decide when and under what conditions we can vote.
With statues that honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X shadowing over them, a group of activists came together in Chicago to honor John Lewis and everything he stood for.
Just remembering somebody's life is not good enough. It's picking up the mantle and doing what he did.
This candlelight vigil in Chicago was one of more than 100 that were happening nationwide last week.
We shall overcome someday.
All in an effort to push lawmakers for three specific laws: the For the People Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and DC statehood. 3 laws that aim to make it easier to vote and increase voter protections. In the meantime, several states like Texas and Arizona are currently going back and forth on legislation that could make it harder for some to vote. Activists call that an attack on democracy. President Biden also agrees with that, and he issued a statement last week to honor John Lewis and said, in part, John once said, "Freedom is not a state, it is an act. On this day of remembrance, let us continue to act." President Biden went on to say that he supports both voting laws and is waiting on the Senate to pass them so he can sign. These activists said they won't give up this fight until those laws are passed.
Give us the rage of Malcolm, the dream of Martin, and the inspiration and the tenacity of John Lewis.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the National Field Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition. I want to thank you for watching our international broadcast. You know, the work of Jesse Louis Jackson goes on, and again, we want to congratulate him for a job well done. He just received the Nation of France highest Medal of Honor, and here in Chicago, we are so elated as we embrace and we welcome him back to our national headquarters. You know, this week, we've got Austin, Texas on our mind. Legislators from Austin and around the state of Texas and now in Washington, D.C. in an act of civil disobedience. And as we remember the Alamo, we're now remembering Austin, Texas, as we are embarking upon one of the largest acts of civil disobedience. Pastor Freddie Haynes, Dr. Marcus Cosby, and Bishop James Dixon led hundreds and hundreds of pastors in the state capitol in Austin, Texas, to confront the GOP legislature and charge them with the cause of doing what's right for America.
Today we're gonna march, and today we're gonna win, because every time we fight, we win.
We're gonna take this cause all over the country, from Los Angeles to Tulsa, to Austin, to Birmingham, to Memphis, to Little Rock, Arkansas, Chicago, New York, and Washington, D.C. We're mobilizing around the country. Go to the site right now, rainbowpush.org, or call us 773-373-3366. Bishop William Barber and the Poor People's Campaign, Rainbow Push Coalition, and Reverend Jesse Jackson are leading thousands August 2nd through August 6th. What are we talking about? We're talking about ending the filibuster. It is the most egregious, unconstitutional tool that both Democrats and Republicans use at their behest, and most often it is used to block the progress of black and brown and poor people. So end the filibuster, pass in its entirety the For the People's Act, pass in its entirety the John Lewis Voting Advancement Act, and pass $15 minimum wage, a livable wage, living wage for working class people. And last but not least, it's akin to the legacy of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson, statehood for DC, DC statehood. These are the 5 non-compromised agenda items that we are taking straight to the state capitol. So if you want to join the caravan, you want to join this national march, rainbowpush.org, go to our social, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's always better when we get together. And don't forget, August 1st through August 6th is the International Convention of the Rainbow Push Coalition. The work of Jesse Louis Jackson is still alive. And guess what? He turns 80 this year. He's been serving for over 55 years all across this country, all across this world. The work of Rainbow Push is yet alive, and it is moving forward. Any number of sessions, any number of encounters, any number of gatherings, you can be a part of it virtually and in person. Go to rainbowpush.org. If you want to be empowered, if you want to be engaged, if you want to be educated, if you want to be involved, it is the International Convention of the Rainbow Push Coalition, and guess what? We're keeping hope alive.
Reverend Jackson has just returned from France, having been awarded the French Legion of Honor Award. It is the highest French award in the country, much like the Medal of Freedom that we present in the United States. And the thing is, Reverend Jackson is not a citizen of France. He is a citizen of America, but he is an internationally recognized world leader. And so we're so proud of Reverend Jackson and his receipt of the award. You can welcome him back to Chicago this afternoon, immediately following this broadcast. If you're in Chicago, we're hosting a welcome home celebration at the national headquarters. But if you missed today, don't worry about it. I need you at the convention. Why? Because we're going to give you complete coverage. The presentation of the award, we're going to hear reflections from people who were there, and you and I will get a real understanding of the impact Reverend Jackson has on the world stage, not just the national stage, not just Chicago stage. Many people try to limit his visibility and power to 930 East 50th or Chicago. But he is so much bigger than all of that, and his impact is felt around the world. And I thank France for honoring him. We thank the people of France. We thank each of you as you join us. This is why you need to register for the convention. We have so many things that you don't want to miss. It's the best convention we could have in a virtual environment. And even in this pandemic, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do a lot to watch it. You can download the Attendify app. You can go to Rainbow Push and watch it on our website. Next Saturday, we open up with the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend William Barber, you've seen him, glimpses of him. He's keynoting, opening up next Saturday on the broadcast. He's going to share with you what the Poor People's Campaign has been doing, what Moral Mondays are all about. You're going to hear from the United States Senator Dick Durbin talking about what the Senate is going to do, what he's going to push senators to do in terms of voting rights, infrastructure. He's in a conversation with Frank Watkins from our staff. And then you're going to move from Saturday to Sunday. We're going to open up with our oratorical students. You're going to see what young people can do if you invest time and energy in their talent. We want to make sure that every young child has an opportunity to be great orators if they choose to be, if they have the capacity. We're going to nurture it, and you will see some of the best young people, some of whom have been with us since they were 3 and 4, and now they are 12 and 13, speaking and participating in plays all around the nation. So if you want your child to be a part of it, if you want to see what the oratorical looks like, you need to join us Sunday afternoon, just an evening with our oratorical scholars. Then Sunday night, the best of gospel music, the Reverend Clay Evans Gospel Concert. We have some great artists. They've been invited and coordinated by Reverend Charles Jenkins, and I'm just so excited. You're gonna have some old and new. We got Jonathan McReynolds, Dottie Peoples, oh my goodness, Opal Staples from Chicago. You got Mass Choir from Chicago. This is gonna be really great. That's Sunday. Then we got the international session. We're gonna honor the Consul General from South Africa, and the ambassador to France will be honored at the convention. That's followed by the Women's International Roundtable. We have Stacey Abrams speaking. She's gonna keynote, open it up live, and then you have a powerful women's roundtable. All of the women's organizations, Rainbow Women's Organizations, by the way, will be on a panel moderated by Attorney Janice Mathis. Then we got a business diversity roundtable. If you're in business, if you're trying to do business with corporate America, you need to hear what are the challenges. Tyrone Studemeyer, head of diversity for the Hyatt Corporation, will be moderating that panel. It's going to let you know what's happening, what we need to do, what challenges we face, how do we make the changes. And then you're going to hear about the Push Excel scholarships. You're going to see some of our scholarship recipients for this year, 2021. Then we have an education session. You may not know what this whole concept of what does it mean to talk about critical race theory. Well, we're going to tell you, we're going to talk about it, see what's happening in education, K-12 and higher ed. We have Dr. Julianne Malveaux, president of Push Excel, and she'll talk about her new position at Cal State. We're going to have Dr. Donna Leak, co-chair of the State Board of Education for Illinois, and Dr. Sonia Whitaker, all preeminent educators, and they're going to lead that discussion. Then we're going to talk about what is happening on Wall Street 100 years after Tulsa. What is the difference for African American people of color? And then we got labor. Everybody talks about 15, but it is labor that keeps fighting, not just for a livable wage, but also for conditions of working conditions. The head of the AFL-CIO, then we have a panel, labor leaders, talking about what they're doing, what we need to do, and how we can help move organized labor forward. We have an independent music seminar that night. And then we're going to talk about what should public housing look like, how should it be funded, how should it be staffed. You're going to hear from the new Secretary of Housing, Marsha Fudge. Reverend Joseph Bryant is going to the NBA draft. And I know you wish you could be there. He's going there to interview. Many of our athletes have been standing up, fighting for social justice in the sports industry, and so we're going to hear from some of them. You're probably going to even hear from one of our former board members, Valerie Daniels Clark, who we really want to congratulate because her team is now the champ. And then we're going to close out with a town hall live on Facebook with Attorney Barbara Unwine and Transformative Justice, talking about where do we go from here with voting rights and voter suppression. And so the clergy are moving, the women are moving, labor's moving, everybody moving and you're going to be moving too. So what we need you to do is move to your computer, move to your phone, and go right now and register for the convention. After you do that, if you're not a member, you probably want to take out a membership, because we're doing so much. Fighting for you is what we really do best.
Can you tell me the truth? It's just a dream of you and me. It's just a dream.
This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
He don't even want to come outside of the door. Then that's not what I want for him. I want him to be able to live the life that we live coming up, be able to come outside and, do the things that kids do.
There's so much going on. We're in the midst of a pandemic. We're still fighting for justice, and we're still fighting for equality. Jamion sings a song, "A Change Gonna Come." When will the change come?
It's been difficult, but we just gonna have to live with it, because we might never know when it's gonna be over, so. Even if it's small, even if it's significant, our dream still matters, because we're trying to succeed to get to that dream.
We try to keep him motivated and just let him know that there are good people in the city, and there are good people that lives in the world. This won't last always. I think it's just a trying time right now that we're going through. But he can be that one to get the people to see what he don't see right now.
My dream was to sing with VOC, trying to tell the teenagers that you can succeed your dream, because you just got to keep working, and following on your dreams. So
It's a great example of what this world needs, of a group of people coming together, are unified, of completing one goal, and that's reaching somebody's heart, changing somebody's heart, lifting somebody's spirit, bringing joy to somebody, bringing some happiness to somebody. That's what CCC does. A song can change the world. CCC can change the world.
when your heart is so cold, and in your mind you feel old, in your truth it will be right there just for you. Can you tell me the truth? It's just a dream for you and me. It's just a dream. When your time seems so long and you feel so alone, when your story seems so real.
Hi, this is Christopher Hodges here at the Rainbow Push Coalition, where our leader is Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, whom we love all over the world. I just want to invite you all to our annual Reverend Clay Evans Gospel Concert. You do not want to miss this grand event, and we want to invite you to come and let's celebrate it together. We have great artists, we have great honorees to come. That's going to be August the 1st at 7 o'clock, but it's going to be virtual. I'm excited about that part, y'all. It's going to be virtual concert. It's going to be exciting. I want everyone to go to their local app store. If you got an iPhone, you're my friend. I want you to go to that app store, and the Google players, y'all find it. All right, and then all other streaming incomes. Download our app here at Rainbow Push. We love you. We're excited. Go tell a friend that the Rainbow Push Coalition is happening August 1st, the gospel concert. We love you. Bless you.
For 2021, we're excited to get more people engaged and involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. Now, if you're interested in public policy and you want to help change the policies that impact those who are incarcerated, you can do so. If you're interested in impacting public policies that benefit education and businesses with social economic solutions, you can do that as well. You can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. Now, if you believe in the scholarships that we've given to thousands of students each year, you can help us out. We've awarded more than $10 million in scholarships year to date. Now, you can help young people achieve a higher education by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now for the annual fee of only $35. And if you're a student or a senior, it's only $15. You can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. Now, if you watch us every week, or if you listen to us on the radio, or if you're viewing on social media, we need you to become a member. And how do you become a member? It's simple. Visit us at rainbowpush.org and press join. Maybe you'd like to support the work of Push. If so, it's really simple. You can do so by texting the word PUSH, that's P-U-S-H, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount that you feel comfortable giving, or you can call us at 773-256-2775 or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. So whenever you want to support, you can do it from anywhere. So keep pushing, because we're going to keep pushing for you and keep hope alive.
I'm Dr. Turner Lee. I'm Senior Fellow of Governance Studies, as well as the Director of the Center for Technology Innovation at the Brookings Institution. And I'm also the Chairwoman of the Public Policy Institute in the Washington, D.C. area for Rainbow Push, as well as a board member. And I couldn't be more delighted to have this conversation as part of this convention, because we all know that this pandemic has changed not only the way we live, we learn, we earn, even love, but it's also had an effect on people of color, particularly Black people, when it comes to their ability to engage just general things like learning or working or meeting with their doctor, and especially connecting with loved ones within their community. And so the conversation becomes not just about how we're going to close the digital divide, my friends, but the people that we are talking about, they're folks that were on the other side of opportunity in many cases, people that look like us, that it's not just about them not having access to the internet or computer, but it's also about the ability to have the opportunities that are rightfully ours. As my friend Angela Rye would say, we built this country for free and we want what we deserve. And I just have to say this before I go to these three lovely ladies, that I have a book coming out at the end of the year on the U.S. digital divide. It is entitled Digitally Invisible: How the Internet is Creating the New Underclass. And I hope that Reverend Jackson will have me back to do a book talk, hopefully in person in Chicago. And so this conversation that we're going to have today is one, I think, of incredible importance to the coalition, but it's even more important for us to get this right, particularly as this country transitions from pandemic response stage to one where we're actually going back to business. And I'm joined today by three wonderfully smart, beautiful Black women, leaders, who are actually working in this space. Dr. Dominique Harrison is a director at my former place of employment, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, running their broadband portfolio. Dr. Fallon Wilson is actually a VP at the Multicultural Media, Telecom, and Internet Council, a place that I also worked at. And Dr. Kathy Trimble, yes, 3 doctors, is the former principal and educator at the Francis Marion School in Marion, Alabama, the birthplace of Coretta Scott King, and a person who I had the pleasure of actually meeting with and visiting as part of the data collection on my book. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for engaging this conversation. I know Reverend is looking with eyes wide open to see what we're going to talk about. So let's jump right into this. And Dr. Harrison, I'll talk to you. First and foremost, tell us about your role at the Joint Center. But more importantly, let's talk about why the digital divide is so important to close, particularly when we think about all of the other inequalities that are out there.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be on this panel with great panelists. So the Joint Center for Political and Economic Study, or otherwise known as the Joint Center, is known as America's Black think tank. We provide compelling and actionable policy solutions to eradicate persistent and evolving barriers to the full freedom of Black people in America. And now the tech policy program that I run is dedicated to exploring the impact of emerging technologies and developing policy solutions to improve the lives of Black communities. We're focused on 3 issue areas: platform accountability, which encompasses like misinformation, disinformation, voter suppression ads. We're focused on privacy and algorithmic fairness. So that's personal information that results in discrimination for people of color. And lastly, we're focused on broadband access and adoption, which I'm so excited to talk about today. So through our research and policy recommendations, our vision is to ensure that Black communities are not harmed by and have the opportunity to benefit from technologies. And to answer your second question, closing the digital divide is important for Black and Brown communities because broadband is essential to education, job growth, economic prosperity, healthcare services, and civic engagement. Black Americans need policy changes to address racial disparities, digital inequality, and broadband connectivity. Further, there is a need for new and inclusive federal solutions that both make high-speed broadband affordable and lead to the build-out of high-speed, quality broadband infrastructure for Black and Brown communities in both urban and metropolitan areas. And I'm so excited to talk more about those issues today.
We're going to come back to that as well, Dominique. So thank you for actually laying that out. Dr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, I want to talk to you because you have become what I'm going to say very nicely, the church broadband lady. I've had the opportunity to do a few panels. I actually had to say it. We having fun here.
I am the church whisperer for this important issue. I believe that it's essential that churches and other faith-based institutions be considered, in my opinion, tech anchor institutions for connectivity within municipalities, and the ways that we think about libraries, and the ways that we think about hospitals, and the ways that we think about schools. There's no reason why faith institutions shouldn't be that. Why? Because they are connecting and helping all types of social-based services, and of course their own types of messaging as it relates to their faith traditions to get people connected. And I think it's an overlooked notion. Matter of fact, I was having a conversation with a colleague this morning because we're working to, like, once again, mobilize African-American churches for this push for a permanent broadband subsidy, a long-term solution. And I said, people overlook the church every time, but let's be very clear about how it has been an economic and a social connector, motivator, and a cornerstone for Black people in this country. Primarily, where did our credit unions come from? Black churches. Where did our HBCUs come from? Black churches. Where did our Black Women's Club movements come from? Black churches. Why? Because we didn't have access to other places because of white supremacy. And so you can call me the Black church broadband lady if you like, which I think is hilarious. But it really talks to what's going on in this moment. And I know your question, because I cut you off, so when I read the questions, the emergency broadband benefit, it took the pandemic for others outside of this amazing group of Black women who are on this panel to see that, oh my gosh, the digital divide still exists. Oh my gosh, well, we have known it's been around for at least 20, 30 years, but I'm glad you get it now. So Congress said, let's solve an issue. Let's give an emergency funding so that people who don't have internet access can get a $50 subsidy that they can apply to their current bill or to get connected. And let's give $100 up to some type of device, a tablet or laptop. Amazing, right? It gives the opportunity to level some of the playing field, but it's temporary, right? It's temporary either because the money's going to run out before, right? The emergency period ends, or Congress says, the pandemic is over, like some folks in the South are saying, and then the money will end also. And so we at MMTC, the Multicultural Media, Telecom, and Internet Council, has been around for 35 years. It doesn't get the same level of shine and press in the ways that many of our historic civil rights organizations do, but they have been around advocating within the telecommunication multicultural space for a very long time to ensure that people of color, not just Black people, have access to this world of technology and innovation. And so they brought me on, and I want to make policy actionable. And so we're mobilizing African-American churches, number one, to enroll their parishioners and community members into the emergency broadband benefit, but also to mobilize for a permanent solution.
Dr. Trimble, now I had this interesting experience. You know, we are tied at the hip. I would say that we are almost like second cousins. I drove down to Marion, Alabama to visit the Francis Marion Consolidated School, K through 12. I wrote about it in a story. And when I went down there, I met this wonderful woman that's going to speak next, who really understands not only why her kids needed broadband, because she was one of the beneficiaries of the Connect Ed program that Obama had, where every student in her school had an iPad, but she also understood the reason why we need to do that to break the trajectories that many of our kids in the rural South, the Black rural South, actually experience. So I want to turn it over to you, because I know it's been interesting pre-pandemic and post-pandemic in terms of why having a connection really matters.
First of all, I want to say again, thank you for allowing me to serve on this panel. To what Dr. Wilson just said, she was saying that there are some people that were still surprised about the digital divide. Unfortunately, there were some people who did not even know that it existed. So here we are in rural Alabama. That's just our reality. As Dr. Lee just said, we're a comprehensive K-12 school. It's located in Marion, a very rural area, and a large number of our students are located in the rural part of the county. So when the pandemic hit in March 2020, we, like everyone else, was taken by surprise. But fortunately, from a technological aspect, prior to the pandemic, we were flying really, really high. We had received the Apple Connect Ed grant during that Obama administration. So all of our students had iPads. All of our teachers had MacBooks. The infrastructure for a wireless connection at the school was top of the line. AT&T had partnered with us to make sure that our children had connectivity. We had all of the bells and whistles. We were, probably even more than some of the affluent areas did. So as I said before, we were riding pretty high. But then when the pandemic hit, then that's when we were, and not only that, we were off the Connect Ed grant. The AT&T partnership was no longer there. So when our children were forced to go home, they had devices, but they had no connectivity. So it was like they had a luxury car sitting up in their garage and no gas to go in it. It was just a good showpiece. So this showed our students that the digital divide was real. Not only our students, but it showed the entire world that the digital divide is real. And it really became evident, and it showed up at that point in time. So here we are, these children having these devices. They were cut off from the real world, not just academically, but in every sense of the world, in every sense of the word. That's when the ugly truth regarding the digital divide became evident. So as we approach the after, if I can even say there is an after, I'm like you, here we are down in the South. Many times as I go out, I'm the only one that's wearing a mask with brothers. You better believe I'm gonna wear my mask, because it is still real. So if we talk about the after, and I can't even say that there is an after, the challenge, however, still persists, because at our school, we had hotspots from AT&T. AT&T had a program called the Alabama Broadband Connectivity Program that provided hotspots for all of our students. Well, that was fantastic. They worked extremely well for our students, even in the most remote areas of the county. However, that was just like placing a Band-Aid on a large gash. It was a temporary solution for a permanent problem, because at the end of June, on June 30th, those hotspots were turned off. And so when they were turned off, now here we are back to square one. So as school gets ready to open up in the fall, here we are asking the same question we were asking almost 2 years ago. Now what do we do? What's going to happen to our babies? What's going to happen to our students? How are they going to get access to connectivity now? So, like, as I said, it is time out for us dealing with these Band-Aids for these large problems.
We're right in the midst of a bipartisan conversation about the infrastructure package. And so when we think about some of the challenges we've talked about today as it relates to broadband, and to solve some of these specifically for Black and Brown communities, some of the recommendations that we have put forward in our recent issue brief, as Dr. Fallon Wilson just said, we need a permanent and meaningful broadband benefit program. Secondly, I would say that we need internet service providers that receive federal funding for broadband to have low cost options for low income households, right? So that they can afford broadband services. We need robust, accurate, disaggregated data about broadband across the US to really understand what communities need the most help to inform the kind of policymaking and funding that will go to specific communities. We also need rules to prevent digital redlining. That is when ISPs choose to build infrastructure in higher wealth, wider communities. We need to prevent that. We also need to prohibit state governments from inhibiting local broadband networks. Sometimes we found out that data has shown that, again, Black communities only have one internet service provider option, and we need more to be able to have lower costs for folks. And lastly, I say we need to increase federal coordination of federal broadband programs so that we're all working together, right, and understanding where the problem is, where the funding needs to go, and the specific kind of services that are needed to connect more Black and Brown communities to broadband services.
Yeah, no, I think that those are really some good points. I mean, now I'm going to tell you though, it's very challenging though to build a local municipal network. I'm just going to put that out there. Haven't been somebody, and again, now I'm really going to date myself, who was around when the city of Chicago was actually trying to do local. Don't you look at me that way, but I was at the table when
speak the truth, Nicole, because I work municipalities too.
I did, and it's very hard. I mean, it's very hard because of the fact that you have to have the government as an anchor institution. But at the end of the day, when you're doing a locally owned municipal network, and people who know me know that I've always spoke this way, you've got to make sure that you have it in a way where the city can also be accountable to the service. I do believe in competition, though, and I do believe that we have to have a conversation where there are places that people do not want to serve. It's a community of 800 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, that we need to make that happen and maybe look at nonprofit collaboratives or other collaboratives to make it work. So I do agree that government has to step in, and it has to be at the federal and state level, folks, and it has to also be at a city council level. Which Dr. Trimble, it brings me to this, final question as we begin to wrap up, and then I'll let you all fire hose anything that you wanted to say. If we don't solve this, I mean, seriously, we don't solve this, what's at stake for the Black community? What's at stake when you wake up every day? She's a rock star. She's been on PBS, A&E, talking and sharing her plight. Superintendent of Alabama School District knew her, highlighted her, and then she retired. Because guess what? We get tired of this work. But Dr. Trimble, what would you say if we don't really take this on? What is going to be the potential impact on Black and Brown communities going forward?
The plight, I think about from a civil rights perspective, where our people were into where they are now. I can only imagine what it was like when our forefathers felt and how they felt when they went from kerosene lights to electricity. When they went from drawing water from a well to being able to just turn a knob and water's right at their hand. I can only think about when they went from riding in a horse and buggy to turning on stilts and being able to ride down the road. When our children of color can sit down at any time and have the world at their fingertips, they're already doing some amazing things, I should say. But at that time, it will be like, man, look out world, here they come. See, because availability leads to employability. And a lot of times people think Black people are just lazy. We're not lazy. When you give us the tools, not only will we do, but we will outdo. So
Right.
availability not only leads to employability, but it also leads to probability, which in turn leads to hope. And that's what we're looking for. Hope for our children to be able to excel, for them to be able to apply. Like I said, once you get the tools in their hand, baby, here we come. So yes, we are on our way. Just give us the tools. You ladies keep working. Give it to us. Put them in the hands of my babies, and you will see what they will do.
Whew. Well, listen, for people who don't know Murren, Alabama, first of all, she in my book, as long as this beautiful community and the work that they've done. But I'm going to tell you, you don't know Murren, Alabama, you don't know the history in terms of how it was instigated for the Selma marches. You got to go back and really look that up. Because I think at the end of the day, that birthplace, that place, probably the Reverend Jackson has visited as well. I know Bishop Jakes was born there. A lot of really great people born in Murren, Alabama. I never been. I'm a city girl. I was born in Queens. So it took me a minute to get there. It took about 2 hours to get there. But I learned so much from this young lady just about why we need to do the work that we're doing. Listen, Rainbow Push Coalition, if you haven't got the spirit, I have. This is important work when we talk about digital equity. And as you go through the remainder of this conference, I think it's important that you take the conversation that has come from 3 Black women and think about what that means going forward. As we've suggested, you got emergency broadband benefit that is actually needs to be more permanent, as Fallon has said. Fallon, what's the name of your initiative so people can join on?
It's Black Churches for Broadband, but can I say one quick thing?
Oh, you sure can. Go ahead. No, it's okay.
I just wanted to say, listening to you, Dr. Tribble, is your spoke to my heart.
Right?
Spoke to my heart. And it also made me think about people like, how do we do models? How do we build a future? Oh, Black people this. It makes me always think of Freedom Summer. And it makes me think of what happened in Freedom Summer, right? They understood that to break Jim Crow, not only did they have to understand their voting rights, but they had to read. And so when they took all of these amazing young people down into Mississippi, into the Delta, they taught them how to read. They made transgenerational learning environments. So your mama who couldn't read was there sitting with her 5-year-old who was trying to read. It makes me think that we need that type of model to really build an equitable future moving forward. And also the other piece, because I'm gonna push back on my liberal folks, I'm about to get my conservatives, I'm gonna say it, and this is Fallon's opinion and not MMTC's. We're so focused on, sometimes we can be overly focused on the good. I mean, what is the good, right? That we ignore the people underneath it all. We don't look at how they live their lives and their experiences. And so one of my things that I push back on public interest tech folks is, we talk about data bias, but y'all don't talk about access to broadband. Only recently have you started this, right? And so because we gotta have competition, but people can't eat. Are you feeding them too? Because they can't get access to the internet, so they don't know where the food pantries are. I think we all have a lot of humility in DC that we need to begin thinking about. And so that we can have the spirit of a Dr. Tribble when we do this work, because I think it will take that level of spirit and historical models, because we're a historical society, to really push forward. It is the Sankofa thing. It is amazing how our cultural traditions even come into technology. To go forward, we must go back. And I think some of the models that we did in the civil rights movement and other movements for like liberation can be re-operationalized to really push for a Black tech future, because that's what we want. Yeah. But I'm done. I just thank you, Dr. Tribble, for that.
Oh no, she brings so much to you. Listen, folks, I was trying to close this panel, but if you all want to keep talking, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that and still get on to the programming that is regularly scheduled for Reverend Jackson and his team. But I would say this, Val, to your comments, that this conversation that we're having represents tiers of people who are actually working in this space. If you don't know them, get to know them. Dominique, what's your Twitter handle and where can people find you again?
You can find me at jointcenter.org. That's our website, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. And I'm also on Twitter at techpolicy, the number 4, and then the letter POC.
Perfect. Thank you. And Dr. Trimble, are you on Twitter yet?
I've been on Twitter, Nicole. Man, we trying to do age me here? Or trying to act like I wasn't back.
Dr. Trimble.
That wasn't me. I'm on Twitter.
I know you. I'm look. She talking about Snapchat and TikTok. I'm just on Twitter. And how can they find you, Dr. Trimble?
I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram at ctrim41522.
Thank you. And Dr. Fallon, I know you on this. Sister Soldier, which one is yours?
Oh, at Sister Wilson. Sister, SISTAH Wilson. Follow me. You can follow at MMTC as well. But if you want to hear all of Dr. I'm joking. Thank you, Nicole. Come on, Nicole, wrap this up.
Yeah, but you can find me at Dr. Turner Lee and also at the Joint Center, my old job, at Brookings Institution, my new job. I'm going to put myself back on such a nostalgic time. But you can find me at the Brookings Institution, but on Twitter. But also, like I said, I have a new book coming out. Hopefully, I'll be back in Rainbow Push to actually share what I've actually learned. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time to actually come and listen to this panel. And I also appreciate all the wonderful sisters that are doing the great work in this space. Thank you. And thank you, Reverend Jackson, for always entrusting us in your stewardship towards the civil rights.
Hi, I'm Tim Lee.
And I am Edison Matt Christian.
And we have a special announcement for you.
We do.
Listen, do you have any children at home between 6 and 16-year-olds, especially on Saturdays doing nothing?
Well, if you do, Rainbow Push Coalition have hope for you.
And that hope is in the form of a STEM and sports summer camp.
Amazing. What does that include?
It includes STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Okay.
And that's going to break down into we teaching your students jobs for the future.
Amazing.
Drones, right?
Yes, digital gaming.
Digital gaming and robotics.
Coding too.
And coding, yes.
Yes.
We're also going to be teaching financial literacy. What are they going to be able to do with that money once they make it?
Invest. They're going to invest. I think so.
And then we cannot do anything, especially in this day and age, without the fitness and the sport.
I'm ready for it. So guess what? Get ready. I'm on turn rope. I'm jumping. We teaching double dutch. We teaching basketball. And we're running with the best. This whole event is free. I mean, free sports, free play,
and free learning.
Free food.
Listen, if you want to take advantage of these opportunities that Reverend Jackson continues to give to the community after 55 years.
55 years? You mean half of a century plus 5? That's mathematics. Okay.
Come down to Rainbow Push, the headquarters at
930 East 50th Street.
Or come to the website at www.pushexcel.org for more information. Listen, the dates of the program as we conclude the dates are
July 17th,
which is this Saturday.
This
and
Saturday.
It ends
August 28th.
Yes, so we have all this time to have this much fun with your children, okay? Listen, when you get down here, you're going to see and hear Etta Christian.
You're going to see Tim Lee.
And we are going to sign off now by saying, keep hope alive.
I am. Now look, I am somebody.
And we're pushing for peace.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Dr. King, I went to jail with a group of 7 students, July 17, 1960, almost 60 years ago. We never stopped moving. I lost a few of jail cells and death. We never stopped moving. I thought it was time to write some of it down so the older generation can learn how we did, and what we did, and how global it was. It was a speech about Mandela in South Africa, India, Qatar, about Gandhi in India, here at home. This book tells the story, so please get it and give it to your friends. Read it, let's argue about it, let's discuss it.
Yep, so the book is Keeping Hope Alive, Sermons and Speeches of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. It's quite a good collection. You know, we've got sermons and speeches from around the globe because you have made such a global impact, not just here in the U.S., but around the world.
Thank you for tuning in to our International Saturday morning broadcast. We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select Push for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com.
We are Sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of 2 words: social justice,
education advocacy,
political empowerment,
freedom and equality,
corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children. Don't give in. Shut it down. If we don't give in, shut it down.
Political change,
inclusion, evolution, progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive.
We want to be bridges to end these cultural gaps.
Going forward. By hope. Not backwards. By fear.